Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Design Systems Community Berlin Chapter December Meetup. This is our last meetup of the year, and we've been doing this for a couple years now, and what we've noticed and really appreciate is this is a community meetup, and it really has become a community. So a couple examples of this, we have Nigel is a speaker tonight. Nigel attended a previous meetup last year, and now he's stayed with the community to speak. Vic was a speaker in our summer meetup, and now she's joined to help organize. And we also have Johannes speaking tonight, who used to help organize, but now has moved to Stockholm and helped start a chapter there. So we're happy to see you here tonight. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome you for the first time if this is your first time joining. So we have two great speakers tonight. Nigel talking about community as a speed catalyst, and Johannes talking about Artifact, a design system for electronic music.
All right. Hi, I'm Vic, and I'll take you through a couple of rules today. First, let me introduce the team of organizers. We're a team of folks coming from diverse domains. For example, Patricia is a UI engineer, Sarah is a design manager, I'm a product and systems designer, and Angie is a field marketing manager. And we're here to answer your questions and to support you, so feel free to reach out at any point. Next on, some housekeeping rules. We just generally expect you folks to be nice to each other, but we also have a code of conduct to comply with, so I wanted to make it something to be aware of. In your interactions within the community, please be respectful, keep it legal, be nice and be kind to each other, uphold the conduct and our values, and protect our privacy. A simple rule of thumb to follow is, please behave the way you would want others to behave around you. Next on, our values. So we think accessibility isn't a trend, but a foundation for everyone's design work. We advocate for diversity and inclusivity. We're allies to marginalized and underrepresented people. We think the community goes first. We're investing our time and effort here tonight and on other nights because we believe we can build something good together. We're putting people at the center of our work. We are prioritizing teamwork opposed to soloing and individuality. And we bridge diverse domains, encouraging an ongoing dialogue between disciplines. And we're here also to have fun tonight, so I'm going to wrap up in a second. And last but not least, before I hand over to Patricia to introduce the fun part, the speakers are going to be answering questions at the end of the session. We know that there is a chat option on YouTube, but it would make our work really easy if you post this on Slido. So please go ahead and grab your phones and take a quick snapshot of the QR code right here. And now next on to the fun part. Please take it away, Pat.
Thank you, Vic. So I just shortly go through agenda for tonight. We have two amazing speakers. We're going to start with the talk by Nigel, senior product designer at Delivery Hero, who will tell us how the community can impact building the design system. And then we will hear the talk by Johannes, a software engineer at Soundtrap, who will talk about design system for electronic music. Please remember that we have Q&A session at the end of the meetup, so stay with us and post your questions on Slido. You can find also link in the YouTube description. So let's begin, and please give a warm welcome to Nigel.
Hi. So yeah, let me go share my screen. And that should be that. And all right, let's get started. Welcome again. So it's quite like around 6:30, right? So let's order a burger. Usually it should take around 30 to 40 minutes for the burger to arrive at your place. due to the constraint of the time, let's use a drone. So now the question is, how many heroes does it take to deliver the burger for you? I can say like, there are actually more than 25 development teams. This is actually just the teams. This is actually support. There's a lot of other departments. That's actually around 22 or 350 heroes. And the armor system is actually for these heroes who wants to build good products. And these heroes are our community. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. My name is Nigel David. Yeah, I work in Delivery Hero. And today I will actually take you through some learnings of how we actually build our design system through through the proof of concept, the visual language, and how useful the community was. Like all the decisions that was made in the system, the community always had the final say. So let's take a brief understanding of what exactly when you mean a community. So a community is always a people with shared interest in an environment. They all have a group. And they all need a system in a company. They have products and they need a system to actually make their products. Now, if you actually take one step much more closer, you can actually see that there are these small refined needs that each group of people has. Some wants a good documentation, some wants a beautiful icon, accessibility guidelines. There are so many things. So the reason why I'm telling you this is that when you're actually saying that, hey, what does everybody think about this beautiful icon? And if you have around a lot of designers, you need to actually understand that not every designer is actually worried about the icon. Some might be worried about more into how the icon works on a very different level, or how the button works like that. So this was a good understanding for us. Let me actually take you through the plan of what exactly happened. So we had around close to a quarter to get it done. And we started with the proof of concept and then the visual language. The first actually is the proof of concept. The proof of concept is a miniature version. This is quite important because it is the miniature version of a complete working system. It is not just you actually say that, hey, we have the buttons and we have some components ready, and now we know that we can ship our system. No, there is code, there is communication, there's release, there's bug reports, everything in a very small scale. And if you're able to do that, only then you'll be able to scale your system. Let me actually take you through in detail of what exactly we did, step by step. First, we actually chose 3 teams. And these 3 teams handles 3 products. Then we chose 2 components, a button and a model, a dialogue. And a button itself is it's a very complex component. Then we created 3 Slack channels. This is separate, this is not the generic Slack channel, but this is a Slack channel only tailored for that team, more like a premium service for that team to understand their needs, their bugs, or what is happening to them, why can't they do this? So is this fine? Is that fine? How does it look? So this was more towards them. Then we designed and developed the components. Then we actually got while we're doing this, we got the semantics defined. And the semantics is for a button, it is component, type, option, status, scale. That means a button and type is the primary, option could be text or text with icon, the status could be enable, disable, and the scale could be large, medium, small. This was actually the initial one. Now we actually push the scale to actually just before options, because we got the feedback that the scale is much more important to choose first. After that, with the designers, we got the structure right, because in abstract, and that, we actually give it to all the designers. So we need to get the structure right. And we constantly communicated updates in the main Slack channel and also among the 3 Slack channels. And we actually recorded videos for stakeholders, for people like head of product and all that, to show them that, hey, this is what we have done. Because they don't have the time to actually go through these Slack channels and all. They just want to get things like, give me in short, in capsule form, how it is. And we also implemented in their stagings. Like, the developer like Sergey, he's a really good developer. So he actually implemented it and he showed to everybody. This was one of the videos. So if you see that, we started to cover all the areas and everything touched with a group of people. It is not just we doing it and releasing it. Next, let's talk about the visual language. And one key thing to understand about when it comes to the principle, we had only one principle, that is one solution per use case. In Delivery Hero, there are a lot of products, and each product has so many use cases. For example, we defined that the button the button inside a dialog box has to be on the right side. That is one solution for one use case, and there should be a button should be on the left side for another one. And one thing we said that we avoided component audit. Now what we did is that our aim was not to get, of course, the aim is to get all the buttons right also, but more than that, our aim was to have a unification of solutions to make sure that all the solutions that we actually provide are consistent across the teams. And every designer, every team has a good set of guidelines. I have a solution, this, and how will I do a visual representation of this? And that's when they approach the system, and the system will give you that, hey, okay, you can use this one and this one and this one. And then you will have a visual representation of your system. Sorry, of your solution. So this actually, this helped us decrease scope, inconsistencies and complexity. And this has, and the principle always had to be it has to be real. It's not just written in the book. We constantly challenge this. And if somebody else wants to actually change the system in the principle also, they can also challenge it. But so far it is actually going very strong, this principle. And if I can actually compress all the things which I'm going to show next for the visual language into one slide, it is actually this one. The user always wants to know how their product looks. Over here, the user is the designer, the developer, the product manager, the team. They will get the components. That's okay. They're happy with that. But they want to see how their component works. If you actually give them a component and say that, hey, this is your button, then they will put it on their design. They will see it. They will see that, they'll do a pixel pushing and they will see if it's fine, if it's beautiful, if it works with solution. But what we did is we did not give them components. We actually gave them layouts. We designed layouts. Me and another awesome designer, Khalid, he's a really good visual designer. So we both actually designed layouts, and layouts actually gave components, and components gave tokens. So this was one of the key things which we did. We did not start with components here. Let's actually design 15 components. That's not it. So I'll actually explain in detail of how we did it. First, we actually took 5 layouts from 5 different products. This could be 2 column, 3 column swim lanes and all that. So then we designed them. We worked like how a product designer would work. We actually designed these one. And there is always this chicken and egg concept, you cannot get the colors right, but you are getting the layout right. So this was a challenge. When we both are working, okay, at times we will okay, let's get the color to a closer to okay, and then let's go ahead with the layout, and then let's get that one. So, but it was always in the layout because we want everybody to see that how their product will look like. Then we actually took a focus product from the 5 of them. The focus product means it is a product that actually it is completely redesigned, to the variant, all the designs in that product is actually defined. So these are some of the characteristics what we actually took, what are the number of components? Is the team on board? Is the there was a data called development. And if it is not released, it is easy for the developers to actually start adopting it. If it is already released, then there is an adoption phase is there. How much of the brand is being used? How many patterns are there? So these are the factors we took, and we picked I think 2 of them. And then we communicated, and this constant communication is there. And these are 2 screenshots of screens which we actually shared in Slack asking them that, hey, what do you actually think? Is 12 pixel the minimum font size? So we all know that, okay, 12 pixel is not, anything below that is not readable. But we had products where their base, the default font size was 14, and they had even 10 pixels. And they had very valid reasons for that. So we want to make sure. So this is always, we keep asking, like, what do you think about an icon, a delete icon or a delete, like, text, which is more accessible, like, and each product has its own set of users. Then we defined the token system. And this is when we started exploring, like, we should go for level 2 or level 3. So in level 3, as you see that it's actually like, level 1 is the color blue 50, then level 2 is color primary.main, and level 3 is the component. It is very agnostic and not 3. And this actually worked. And this is something which we inspired from Adobe Spectrum. We even tried level 2, but due to the vast, like I said, we are actually dealing with more than 25 development teams, and there's a lot of products. And due to that vast thing, there is so much of use cases, and we need to be flexible, yet we need to be strong also. So this is why we went for level 3, and it works. It's still working. And after this, once we got all the layouts and everything, and this is when we started exploring the colors. Like, should we use blue or should we use purple? Should we use turquoise? Should we swap the primary colors? And then we started showing this not only to designers, but to developers and everybody, like, what do you actually think about this? Will you like it if you see this in your product tomorrow? This is the question we keep asking them every time. And from that, we actually extracted the components. And we showcased the visual language throughout. And this was the whole visual language process. And every week we used to have weekly meetings. We should talk to them, like, this was a constant momentum building, like, we should keep doing that. Even for any small decisions, we used to ask the community always. Here's a screenshot of how it was from the Jira. So this is how, like, as you can see, the community collaboration and process sharing is the longest one, because it has to happen throughout, like constantly. When we are actually defining it throughout, it has to happen. And that actually comes to the close. Some more fun things. This is actually how we actually named our system. We initially asked everybody that, what do you actually think? What is the name that you want? And somebody had Cynosure, Armor. And then we did another vote on asking them that, hey, which name would you prefer? And they all preferred Armor. And we even did a third vote asking them that, are you still sure that you like Armor? So yeah, finally they said, yes, we all like Armor. Let's go with Armor. And I can share some ending notes. Around 5 of them. This is a pretty cool one. There is always a balance between Buddha and Gandalf. When you're actually in the system, when you're being there, at times you have to be like, you have to light the way, you have to be there with the guideline. And at times you should say that you shall not pass. There is that balance with going with the grain and against the grain. This is very crucial when you're actually in the community. You should not everything, you should not say that you shall not pass. For something, you should actually explore. Let's go ahead and see how it goes. Keep the momentum. It is a living system. We all say that the design system is never done, a living system. The same way the community in the system is never done. Like, you have to keep it living. You have always challenge the users that, would you use this? How does it look in your product? Do you want this? So like that, you keep asking them. We had even decision pages in the beginning. So where users, like, I keep saying users, but like, designers, developers, product managers, the users actually should go there and see that, okay, what is the status of this? How does it look on this? They used to go there whenever they are free, because it has to be asynchronous. We cannot say that, okay, everybody come on this day to see this. It has to be in a very asynchronous way. And not every group is interested in the same kind of information. The manager, or maybe he just wants to see how a solution works. A designer wants to see the small details, like, should I use 4 pixels or 8 pixels? That 8 pixels looks much more better. those kind of very fine things. And the head of product, just give you 5 slides. So this is where, like, we design system lovers, we like to talk about the system. When we get somebody, we just love talking. We just talk about this and this. But the person on the other hand, okay, what do I get from this? How will I actually benefit my day from this? So this is what on the other side, so this is where we need to actually understand that even when we make decisions, or when we give an opportunity for them to make decisions, we need to give the informations how they want, so that they can make the right decision. And even with the groups, there's another thing called the levels of information. This is actually, we had like weekly meetings, we had constant Slack boards, we had discussions in small group channels, and we had conversations with a single user. Now, let's say the conversation with a single user, this user may not talk in a weekly meeting where there's actually 20, 25 people. This is actually one of the interesting concepts called the individualism versus collectivism. It's actually from the book called The Art of Choosing by Sheena. So she actually said that, when we all actually, for example, when we all go to a restaurant and we all say that, let's say hey, I'm going to order a burger. Let's say that. And then the person next to me is like, okay, I'll have that too. There's chances are very common that one person will actually say that is because that person may not have the energy to make the decision, not because of he wants another thing, or he could be many factors. He just wants to get the decision done with. So, and everybody agrees to that. Even if it is wrong or right, they don't think, they just go with that. So this is something which, people actually respond very differently when you talk as an individual and when you talk as a collective person. And finally, users are designers, developers, and product managers. Understand their pain than providing components and documents. And because they are your speed catalyst. Thank you all for listening. This is my team. It's a very fun team. I managed to put Lucas in there. He joined later, but yeah. That's me over there. There's Norman on the top. He's our manager, a very, very smart guy. Very smart guy, period. Khaled, the coolest visual designer. Nikolai, he's a very positive developer. It's like, let's do this. Let's go ahead. Let's do this. Sergey, we have still now, there are actually 2 Sergeys in the room in our team, because this guy, I think he clones himself. He's so amazing and does his work. He does so many things. Yeah. And Juan is another manager. So yeah, it's a very fun team. Once again, thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Nigel. That was amazing. I'm sure everyone has some questions. So please post them in Slido, and at the end of the meetup, we will try to answer all of them. And as a next talk, we will have Johannes from Soundtrap talking about design system for electronic music. Welcome, Johannes.
Hey. So nice to meet you all, at least. I'm happy to talk here. Let me quickly share my screen. So, yeah. So my talk is called Artifact. And yeah, I think I'm going a bit off topic with this talk, but I still wanted to share this. It's one of my pet projects. And it combines, let's say it combines multiple of my passions and things I'm interested in. So first of all, about me, I'm Johannes, pronouns he, him. I'm a software engineer and part-time musician. And I work at a company called Soundtrap, which is actually a Spotify-owned company. And what we're building an online music studio. So I moved to Stockholm to start working at Soundtrap, and in general, you can follow me on those links, and also find more sources or the source code to what I'm presenting right now on github.com/Wisniewski. So what is this about? So I'm kind of obsessed with music production and with synthesizers, and also with design systems. I used to work at Contentful before, where I was building Forma 36, the design system for Contentful, with a great team of UI engineers and designers. And yeah, those are just like great passions I have. And I was kind of wondering, like, how could I have it all in one, and how would that look like? And I started thinking about what is the offering we have right now in creating music, electronic music, with a focus on electronic music, but also how could we create electronic instruments? Like, is there any way that could be easier? And I just wanted to go over the offerings we have there right now. So I started with like looking at what the most common entry point for electronic music and software instruments is, which is the DAW, the digital audio workstation. And you might know or have used the DAW like GarageBand, or you may know Logic. Ableton Live is a very what is it, like a great DAW you can do great techno music with, and it's basically software for music production and composition. And you have those different offerings, from beginner friendly, which is Soundtrap. So Soundtrap is a great DAW to get started with, and yeah, just start out with creating music quickly, collaboratively with your friends and other producers. And then you have comprehensive pro solutions like Bitwig or Logic, or all of those. But they share one common paradigm, which is they follow this old paradigm of like that you had in an old classic studio. You had your big mixing console, and then you had different channels there. You had different inserts for effects. You had a sequencer which would like basically set what you recorded in sequence. And this is basically a digital recreation of what you had in a classical studio. And then there is modular synthesizers, for example, which is like very hyped right now, where you have like different modules, and that's very low level. Like you get modules for oscillators that create a sine wave or saw wave. And then you have an amplifier to amplify that signal. And then you have an envelope, which will create a function over time. So if you hit a key on a piano, for example, it will decay for a while. It will play, but then you will hear it like getting quieter over time. And then you maybe have sequencers which set your note into sequences. And it basically gives you this endless possibility of patching things together and creating unique and magical sounds. And then on this picture you see Suzanne Ciani, which is like one of the pioneers basically of that. But it's not really accessible, and it's extremely expensive to get into this, because like those modules, they are like from small companies that do them very limited runs, and then you have to pay like some money for this. As an alternative, there would be node-based programming for audio and video. So there are programming languages in a way which give you those nodes. They visualize the audio flow and the control data flow and so on. And then you can build complex digital signal processing applications without writing like C++ or something like this, or getting into a very low level language, which is like a huge hurdle to get into creating electronic instruments. Like it's just a very complex field, and they should make it easier, but there's also like a very steep learning curve to it, and it's not very intuitive. So what else is there? There's like live coding and algorithm. This is like the craziest of all of those options. Like you can say, I'm gonna ditch it all, and I'm taking this live coding library and I'm coding the music. And it's not really accessible. I mean, it looks crazy, and you look like Neo on stage, like hacking into the Matrix, which is cool. But it's just like, you wouldn't start with that. You have to be like into like functional programming and music to actually have fun with it, I guess. There are many great resources though. I highly recommend if you're interested in algorithm and live coding, you can check this out. And then you might ask, like, what does that have to do with design systems? Like this is a talk about like music, but like one thing that they have in common, it's highly systematic. And over the years, and when I started with like talking about the old studio paradigm, we all agreed on this universal design paradigm for electronic music instruments and production. So you got like a conventional interface. You got inputs and outputs for control voltage, for audio signals, and for MIDI, which is basically just sending data to you, sending data that you can use to like control things or like play notes and so on. And you have common components, like all of those offerings I just showed, like they kind of have the same components. And they even like called the same. It's like there's a naming convention as well. Like you have amplifiers, you have like called VCA, voltage controlled amplifiers, or you have oscillators and envelopes, ADSR envelopes that describe like the function. And so it's very, very systematic. There is a design system already. And you almost have like a common user experience across products. So no matter if you start with Ableton or if you start with Bitwig or Logic, if you know a bit of the fundamentals, if you started maybe with Soundtrap, and then you go into like another door to achieve some task of music recording, you will kind of like find your way around it because you already learned the fundamentals of it. It just gets like more complex in the details. And then there was my question, like, because I was talking about that it's pretty hard to get into building those instruments and like extending or like just getting into building custom electronic instruments. You can start it like from the software perspective where you have to learn C++, or you have to learn like one of those node-based programming languages to build something. And it's not something like in the field we are in, like a lot of us are like kind of like developers, engineers with a web focus, and you use other frameworks. You don't necessarily use C++. Most of the time people use, I don't know, Angular or React or something like this. And how to enable more people and how to make it easier that you can actually build those instruments. And then I set myself like some kind of like a mission. And the idea was I just wanted to make creating electronic instruments more accessible using technologies creatives know and love. And I mean, the prerequisite is also like the technologies that like I'm a bit biased with this because there are some technologies I love. So I thought, okay, those are the technologies we love. Could be wrong. Anyway, we will see. And I set myself some fundamentals to something that will be called, or was called Artifact later on. And I was just thinking how to make it as not simple, but like how to make it as accessible and simple to start, maybe, or simple to access as possible. And I thought, like, if you're in classical DSP or audio software engineering, you will start with C++, and then you might build something like a VST, and a VST is like a framework to build a virtual software instrument, but you have to buy the license for that if you want to publish this as well. So what is free and what is like accessible? And that would be web audio and web MIDI. So this is basically an API that many of the browser vendors like support, where you can create audio context, you can create like oscillators with it, you can play back audio, you can send MIDI to it, so you can control the instrument in your browser from the DAW you're using, basically. So let's say you're using Ableton Live and you want to send notes from Ableton Live to your browser. You can do it. You can do it with web MIDI. It's free, it's open source, and it runs almost in every browser. And then I thought, like, what is a good framework that like a lot of us use on a daily basis? And that would be React, I think, because like it's just like very, very, like a lot of companies use it, build their front end on it. And it's also one of those frameworks where there's a really active community. So it's easy to get started with it and to find resources. And if you're getting stuck, there will be people that will help you. And maybe they even know something about web audio and web MIDI. And like, this is how that came together. So, and then I thought, like, there needs to be a high level of abstraction for starters. You shouldn't be too concerned about the details of an oscillator, for example, or like the details of you want to build a simple synthesizer which just like creates a sound and you can like tune it in a certain way. You don't want to have all those small modules to build it up as you would have like in modular synthesis. Maybe you want to have one component that does that for you, and then you have another component that does something else with it, like sequence the notes, for example. Or like you will have a mixer where you can mix different synthesizer modules together. So that should be sufficient. Like this level of abstraction for starters should be sufficient. And then the only question is like, cool, started with that, wrote a little proof of concept. It's still in a very like, the whole project is still in a proof of concept state. And then for me, the only question, always a question, if I build like instruments, can it techno? Can I produce some techno music with it? If I can do it, then it's a great framework. So I want to use the rest of that presentation to basically go into the code and just write up like a quick piece of music, just using that. And I start with, and I hope that works because like I'm streaming my audio as well. So if it's too bad, please stop me, anyone from the team, and let me know that it's not working. So I'm going to switch quickly into the code, and I hope it won't be too overwhelming in a way, but I just want to quickly go through it and want to showcase the proof of concept. So basically what I do is I've got all those components from my artifact library. And what those components expose is basically an environment. An environment for me is like it's my studio space, and this is where I set certain variables that I need. For example, the tempo of my song. And the tempo of my song, if I want to do some techno, could be 125. That's a good tempo. That's 125 beats per minute. And the next thing I want to do is actually I want to have a channel strip. That would be, imagine you have a mixer in front of you, like an audio mixer, and you have one channel. That would be the channel strip. And within that channel strip is I want to have a sequencer. This is where the analogy and the paradigm like breaks a bit, because you wouldn't have that, but in my case or in this framework, it's working like this. So what the sequencer basically does is it takes an argument called notes, and this is an array, like a list of notes. And right now I set them as hertz. Yeah, so I have like a first note at 200 hertz, then I have a second note at 400 hertz. Then I have a third at 800, 1,200, for example. What else? 8,000, 1,800, and just say 2,400. And this means that this component will take those notes and will set them in sequence. And I can decide how they should be played. I can add an interval to that and say like it should happen every fourth note. Like every fourth note, I want to have one of those notes played, and if you're at the end, you're going to go back to the beginning, and then you basically start from again. And 4n would be like the default, so that's cool. And then I have a synth module. And this synth module has a type. And the type is basically the waveform. Actually, I should have called a waveform. Type is very confusing. It should be waveform. And the waveform in this case is a sine wave. So it's like just a classical sine wave. And as soon as I start saving this, it will actually build the application, get a browser window here in the back. You don't see nothing. There's nothing to show. There's no UI. And you should hear sound. And hopefully that will work. In this case, I quickly need to do a modification here. So now that I hear myself and the music. So let's save that. And it's building it. And I hope you're hearing it and it won't be too loud. So you basically hear this playing now, and I got another argument here, which is called Jane, and I can say this should be 0.2 loud. This is not really a scale, not decibel, it's more like as it's in an early stage. I need to figure those things out as well. So it's reduced the volume, and hopefully this is okay. And I like that sounds okay. very basic, but it's okay. Let's make it a bit louder. So what I can do next is I can say I want a reverb. That would be an effect. And inside of that reverb, I want to have my synth, and the synthesizer module would be affected by the reverb. So if we save it, we should hear this nice reverb. I hope it transfers over the stream. I'm not sure about it. And this is cool. Maybe I like that. So I think I'm gonna have the same setup. Oh, let me quickly fix something. I want to have another channel strip. So my first channel strip in my mixer, and then my second channel strip in my mixer. And this one is a bit lower in the volume. And it plays way faster. It plays like on every 16th note. So let's add this as well. So now we got like some kinds of chords going on, and like an arpeggio going on, which is nice. So that's cool. I'll add another one actually. Remove that. And this can be my bass line maybe. So I need some low notes. Say 80 Hertz. I hope it works. Oops. And that should play in the 8th notes. And maybe I can use another waveform. So I would use a square wave. So now we should hear. Cool. But I want to filter that a bit. I don't like the high frequencies in that. So I go on and I have this filter module, which has a frequency. That's a cutoff frequency. And I can say at, let's say at 200, it should, or 2000, it should filter out the frequencies. So it's a low pass filter. Cool. So now I need another channel strip. So I copy this one again. And this time, what I want is, we want to do techno. So I want a sampler, and it has a sample property. And I can say I want the sounds, and I want a kick.wave. That's a file I have in my project. And this should play on 4th notes, like 4 on the floor, like every 4th note. Let's check this out. We don't hear it that good because it's pretty again. Nice. So now we got this going. And then maybe we want to have a clap on the 2nd note. So let's do that. Let's add that as well. That's cool. Let's have a bit of reverb. And the last thing we need for our techno track is a hi-hat. So let's add that hi-hat as well. So let's say it just plays on the 16th notes. Nice. Another thing I can do here is I can have an automation. So if this is a sawtooth, for example, this will be pretty like a lot of high frequencies, and I want to filter those out. I'm gonna add a frequency. So this will now automate it over time. Should at least, but it doesn't do it. Ah, right, because I don't have a filter. So now it starts like automating this. Maybe I need another. So now you hear how it's moving, like how the frequency is moving over the sequence. And this is basically how you can build up your music. I'm gonna stop this for now. This is basically how you can build up your music, just writing it like a tree, like HTML in a way. And you just compose different modules together. And you could have complex functions that give you crazy scales or something like this. Yeah, and I just have like a little module that I prepared. So I used this framework to, a friend of mine approached me and he was like, I need a VJ application for an art installation I'm doing. And it should basically trigger videos in sequence. And then I thought about this module that I wrote about the sequencer and thought, okay, maybe it would be cool to have YouTube videos. So you provide a list of YouTube videos and then you can decide on which note that you're sending or that you define here, which video will play. And combined with that, you get some kind of like a little techno machine, and I hope it works over the stream. Like it's loading a lot of videos now. Yeah, it's pretty slow. So I took some videos I found on YouTube of people dancing and stuff, and it will basically just sequence them, beat match to the music, and you can define which videos you wanna show. So you can say I wanna have this which is mapped to F, and then one which is mapped to A. And then as soon as you reload, I mean, I think that's a bit too much for that stream right now. But maybe you get the context, the concept behind it. So that's basically it. That's the little project I wanted to share. It's like a component library or design system to build electronic music and music instruments. I open sourced that whole thing, or like I just developed it open source from the beginning, and you can basically find the whole project here. There are some modules I wrote with it. Reservox is like a little additive synthesizer, like subtractive synthesizer actually. Then you have Super Interlacer, which is that VJ app I just showed you. And feel free to check it out. Leave comments. It's very early, and I'm sure I did like a lot of weird things making this happen, and it could be optimized in many ways, but it could be a nice starting point to build like a design system for electronic music instruments. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Johannes. That was really fun. I think everybody's in a party mood right now. I'm gonna remove your screen. And now it's time for Q&A, so I'm bringing in Nigel as well. And so we have a few questions in Slido. We're going to wait a little bit if anyone wants to still put in some other questions. And then we'll start from the popular one. They're a little bit mixed up, so some of them can be from Johannes, and some of them for Nigel. So we'll just take them one by one. Okay, maybe we should start. I think everyone already submitted. So let's start with the first question. Do you use any metrics For measuring the impact of your design systems, what are they about? I think this is for Johannes.
No, I think that's for Nigel, right?
If anyone's in the chat that wrote the question, you can also ask.
For measuring
You can
impact
also
of design
put it in the chat.
I mean, we both can answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That would be also really good.
Yeah.
Okay. As of now, we don't have the first one for us is actually the speed to market. So this is, it's only less than a year which we have started the system. So we need to make sure that we deliver the solutions faster. So we should get the ready, it is called the ready to use components, the guidelines and everything, and ship it. So one of the metrics that we would actually think is that, okay, how long does the team take to ship that solution? Whatever solution they are doing, is the time getting reduced? Like, are we getting smaller and smaller? So that is one thing that we are actually looking into. So right now we are actually in this big adoption phase, and adoption is actually a metric, you should have how many teams have actually adopted. So that is actually we are doing, and each team has each team has a very different use case of adoption. So we are going through this very massive adoption now.
And I read in the comments that it would be fun if you both answer. So Johannes, that's your turn.
Sorry, I had some issues with the audio right now. What was that again?
Would you like to answer as well?
I mean, the issue is that I'm a bit. I can speak on behalf of what we did with Forma 46 in a way, but I'm not that active anymore in the design system right now. But yeah, I mean, one of the metrics we used were actually how the velocity increased for shipping a feature, and there were different metrics around that. But I think Nigel has the way better answer for that.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Have you looked into XD, Figma, Framer for your system too? I think this is for Nigel because also the timing.
So the answer is yes. So actually we are looking right now. So when the system was actually getting started, the team of designers and everybody was using Sketch and Abstract. So we couldn't wait to do a big tool migration, and there is a tool onboarding and everything that's going to take a while. Our main is to get the system up and running. But yeah, now we are actually for the past 1.5 months, we are actually evaluating all of this. And yeah, one of them is actually closely looking very good. So let's see, actually, maybe yeah, but of course, it's good actually.
All right, let's move on to the next one. What do you mean by no audit? No unifications or solutions across the products? What is the use case there? Can you make an example of a use case? And I think this is also for you, Nigel.
Okay, so when we say no component audit means we did not actually went through in detail of each product and says that, okay, this is how the button looks like, this is we did not take screenshots of that one by one, and we did not do everything on a very extensive scale. But what we took is, we made sure that we see, okay, the table itself is a big pattern. So how does the table function? What is the interaction of the table? Does the table have sorting? Does it have filters? So these are the things that we need to consider. Is it actually collapsible row? So then we make sure that how does this collapsible row will work if we put this one in, let's say, 10 products, and 10 products will have different use cases. Some of them will have very short content when the row opens, some of them will have a long content. So it differs on, but we were not very keen on taking okay, we need to make sure that all the buttons are same. But for us, the interactions has to be same, the solutions has to be same. And once we get that, then we will actually we will automatically get the components also right.
Thank you. Let's move to the other one. Where did you ask community? How did this process look like? Yes, this is also for Nigel.
Okay, so we asked in our weekly meetings. We had a weekly armor sync for 1 hour. We asked them, and we asked in each team has their own teams, like, team product 1 has product 1 and armor, product 2 and armor. So there is actually this premium support we asked there. And also we asked in the big design system channel, where we asked. So over there, the amount of discussions is way different, but in a smaller group, it is different. And in a weekly meeting is very different. So we asked the same question to many people in many C, and different people actually answered in different. So depends on their mood, depends on how busy are they. Some people are actually comfortable to talk within their own team. Some people say that, hey, I want to talk, like, have a bigger conversation because this involves more than one product. So let me talk in the design system channel. So it always we went with how the community reacted. We went it that way, how they feel it's comfortable. Yeah.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. Regarding the first metrics question, this is a follow-up. Very obvious towards Nigel. Do you have a customer-facing metrics as well? And if so, what are they?
So when you say, yeah, so if you actually see, this is an internal system. So this is actually used by brands, and brands has their own system, which is actually used by, like, users who actually order something. So we have these products, which is actually using the internal system. They have metrics, and they are actually that product's users are the brands. So there are actually metrics inside that. So they are actually measuring it. So one question is, like, you would actually, when these products are doing usable, they are actually product teams, just like a normal product team. They are doing usability testing. They have, like, analytics and all that there. So they do testing, and they come back to us and they say that, hey, like, this would take this time, this is not good, that doesn't. So there are so many metrics inside, like, and one thing is that, but this turnover time takes quite a while at times. So that's why we need the community to actually understand, like, how it works, to get a, like, a good line. Okay, this works with the team. Yeah. That answers.
Yep. Thank you. Next one is Nigel. Are you presenting in Figma?
No, I am presenting in Apple Keynote. Very clean, the old school way.
Next one is for you, Johannes. Is Artifact open source?
Yeah, it's open source. So you can find it on github.com/wisniewski/artifact. It is open source, but yeah, be aware that it's very, like, early prototype. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not particularly proud of. But you can have fun with it anyways. And if you want to contribute, please do so. I'm just, like, having some weekends where I can, like, work on the concepts, and then I get, like, kind of, like, into the mood of jamming with it more than I actually make it better, like, or extend it. So if you're into that kind of stuff, please support and please help me.
Thank you. Next one is, can it break core? And I think this is also, again, for you.
It's perfect for breakcore. It's amazing for it can breakcore better than it can techno. It can house a bit. It can also drum and bass a bit. It can't do country, but it can breakcore definitely. Definitely. Thanks for the question. Good question, though.
And I think this is our last one. Johannes, can you tell how your team measured that velocity change you've mentioned?
Yeah. I mean, we did this actually in our sprint rituals when we had, like, planning sessions, and we were also looking on the previous sprints and on our burnout charts and so on, and we saw that there was a new component that was introduced. Like, we tried to see how it actually reflected in it. It's not always, like, precise, definitely not precise. It's more like trying to get some data in and trying to find something in that data. But that's a long time ago, or not a long time ago, but that's over a year ago that I last was like really involved in that in terms of Forma 36, the design system. There is a great talk about it on our design systems community channel on YouTube, where I think we talk about this as well. I might be wrong, but it's worth like checking that out. Yeah, maybe there's another talk, I don't know, from the Forma 36 crew that is still building this amazing design system at Contentful, and they can go into a bit more detail. So sorry, I think I need a rain check on that question and ask you to look up that talk we had, I think 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago. But it was definitely challenging. Like it's definitely not easy to find the right metrics and to find the right results you want to measure against, the right baseline you want to measure against, if it improves, let's say, internal developer velocity or time to release of like a feature, time to market. So yeah, it's extremely challenging. Check out the channel, Design Systems Community. There is, I think also the Toronto chapter has great talks about it from folks that work at TELUS and Shopify. Sorry for not having a good answer here.
I think while everyone is in the channel, maybe they can look for that talk. And yeah, while you're at it, we're done with our Slido questions. However, I think we had a couple questions in the chat, and some of them also moved to Slido. I think only 2 of them didn't move to Slido, and one was, can it techno? Should be a show. And we had another comment that also answered that question, and I think it was, yes, it can techno.
Cool. That is my key. That's, by the way, my key metric for Artifact. Like how techno cannot. If it like it right now, it's at like 60%. I need to get like to 100% to make it properly techno.
And the last one is, can you add percussion as well?
Yeah, you can add whatever you want. Like you can add like whatever sample you want. I just took like a kick sample, snare sample, a clap sample. But I'm working on a component that actually is a percussion synthesizer. So you can synthesize the sounds and you don't need a sample like this, which gives you like the opportunity to create more complex and crazy sounds. It should be more like an explorative tool and toy. So that's coming up. If you want to help, please help.
Okay, I think we're done with all our questions. And thank you to both of you for taking some time and coming to our event, giving great talks and answering all the questions. I'm pulling everyone in the stream so that we can all say goodbye. Thank you everyone for watching us. We also had a lot of fun with you, reading your comments and your questions. We're looking forward to see you in other events, future events. And if you're also interested to host with us or give a talk to us, please reach out to us. We'll put our information in the description box. Yeah, Clive says he needs to cook, so he needs to go now. Bye-bye, Clive. You're watching.
The show is over.
Did I miss anything else, team? Anything we should mention before we wrap up?
Thanks to our speakers, Nigel and Johannes. It was amazing to hear from you, and thanks everybody for rejoining and continuing to be part of the community.
Thanks for having us.
And with that, have a great dinner. Thank you for watching us and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.